Imagine a technology where all you need to do is type an instruction in plain English on what you want your computer to do, and then your computer goes ahead and does it. Well, you can stop imagining because that exists right now. Thanks to Anthropic, they recently released the new product called computeruse, which is able to do exactly that. Let me show you. So if I type in a simple instruction, for example, calculate the square root of 5, and I click enter. What it's going to do is it's going to run an agent where it basically uses chain of thought prompting in the background. In this case, it was able to do it just with a Python code in the background. But let's say I wanted it to use the actual computer. So let's say use the calculator app. This thing's been designed to find the easiest way to do things. That's why it did it in Python. But you can see here now what it did is it just took a screenshot, and now it's trying to identify, okay, what do I click? It clicked on the calculator. Now it's opened the calculator. It's going to then probably identify the square root button, and then it'll click it, and then the square root of 5 equals, and there you have the answer 2.23. And we can fact check that with the Python answer 2.23. And there you have it. So what this was able to do is, this is something completely new. This hasn't existed in the past. Anthropic were able to build a model which can identify elements on a screenshot based on the pixel position vertically and horizontally. So it counts the number of pixels, and then it's able to click on that specific user interface element. This is different to how it was done in the past. Like robotic process automation generally identifies the code of a button or a user interface element and it clicks it. But in this case, it's using vision. So it's a lot more versatile, which means this is platform agnostic. So you can use this on Mac, you can use it on Linux, you can use it on Windows, even legacy systems. So there's no limitations on what this technology can automate. All right. And let me just click this little button here, toggle screen recording. So now I have control. I'm just going to close this calculator. So you can see this demo allows us to automate tasks in LibreOffice, kind of like Microsoft Excel. All right. This is LibreOffice Calc, okay, for spreadsheet work. Then you have the terminal, all right, like a command prompt. Then we have Firefox browser to do anything you need to do on the internet. Then we have Xpaint, which is kind of like, Paint, where you can draw things. And then we have a PDF reader, a code editor, and then the calculator that you already saw. All right, so I'm just going to refresh this. I'll click this little arrow and click reset. But you probably want to play around with this for yourself. All right, so that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to be showing you how to set this up. All right, it's quite simple to set it up. If you're not a developer, it might seem a little bit technical, but I'll make it super easy for you guys to follow along so you can get set up with this remote environment so you can play around and try automate some stuff. So the first thing you need to do is you want to navigate to this URL where you download the Docker desktop application. All right, so I will provide this link in the description of this video. And what you want to do is click this download Docker. If you're on Windows, select one of these. If you're on Mac, select the relevant one for you. In my case, it was the Apple Silicon one. Then go to your downloads folder and just follow the installation instructions the way you would install a normal desktop application. All right, and then once it's installed, you'll have a app like this. It's called Docker Desktop. You might be wondering, what is Docker? Why do I even need to install it? So Docker is basically a virtual environment. Think of it as a computer within your computer. So that's what we had over here. So this is actually on a browser, localhost 8080. And then here we have a virtual computer running within our computer. Anthropic will be releasing a desktop application where you can use AI to control your personal Mac or Windows machine. But for now, for security purposes and probably just for feedback purposes, they provide this computer use demo through Docker. The second step is now we need to get an API key. An API key is basically a secret ID that is linked to your credit card in order to bill you for your usage. All right, so that's something I should mention. This AI agent isn't free to use. You do have to pay for it. All right, and I assume all AI agents, at least in the near term, will be a paid product because it charges the user per token processed the same way models like ChatGPT and Claude do. Once you are here, you want to create an account. Cool. That will bring you to the Anthropic dashboard. Then you want to click on your profile top right and then click on API keys. Okay, so this is where you can now create that secret API key. And remember, it's secret, so you don't want to share this with anyone because then anyone can use that key and run credits through that key and charge on your credit card, which we don't want. So I'm going to click create key. I'll give it a name. I'll call it computer use demo, and I'll select my default workspace and click add. So there's the API key. I'm going to copy this key. You can't open it once you've created it, so you just want to save it somewhere. So I'll just paste it here in Notepad for the time being. The next step is you want to follow the instructions on this GitHub page, which is basically the computer use demo provided by Anthropic. This is the code you want to run. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this part first. Okay, then I'm going to come to my Notepad, paste it in. And then here where you have %, your API key %, you want to delete that and replace it with double quotes. And inside those double quotes is where you want to paste your API key. So I'll Control C and Control V. And then you want to take this whole expression, including the word export, Control C. And then you want to open terminal. Okay, so if you're on macOS, you'd be using terminal. Let me just reset this. Okay, so yours will probably look like this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control V to paste in that expression and click enter. If no error happens, that's a good thing. That means the code ran successfully. After this, what we then want to do is paste this code. All right, so you want to copy this Docker run. And because we have Docker installed on our machine, this will now work. So if I come back to terminal and Control V, okay, I'm not going to click enter yet. And I just want to show you why. So if you go to localhost :8080, you'll see it's going to say this site can't be reached. Even if I click refresh or reload, nothing happens. Now, if I come back to terminal, I'm going to run that Docker code. Okay, if it's the first time you're doing this, it's going to be installing some files. It takes a couple minutes. It's about 1 gigabyte of files. So make sure you have at least 1 gig free on your machine in order to run this. Everything started successfully. So now if we come back here to localhost :8080 and I click refresh, we now have access to our virtual environment where we can now start prompting it over here. Okay, so I'm just going to go over the other stuff here. We have the API provider, which we chose Anthropic. You can also use Amazon Bedrock or Vertex if you run into limitations with Anthropic. Then here's where you put the model name. All right, currently this is the best one. This is the new Sonnet model. This here is the date. Here's the API key, which we can view. Here, it will send in most recent images. So what this is basically saying it's only going to consider the 10 most recent screenshots in the prompt. Now, what happens is if you increase this number, the response will be more accurate because it has more context. However, it will be more expensive because it's using more tokens. And one image is around 4,000 tokens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from 10 to 5 just because I'm trying to save on token costs. And then here you can add a system prompt suffix. Okay, so what that basically means is if we come here, you'll see this is the system prompt that it's using. Okay, and it allows you to add a suffix, which is, you can see here, we are appending the system prompt suffix to the system prompt by adding the two together or concatenating them. So that is what happens here. So if you want, I've generated a system suffix over here, which basically follows the rules as mentioned in the documentation for computer use by Anthropic. However, I feel like it doesn't even need these instructions. Maybe you can give it some other context, like for the specific use case, but I felt like adding these doesn't make much difference to the current setup, at least based on the instructions I entered over here. So I'm going to leave this blank for now, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to give it this prompt. I'm going to say, navigate to the YouTube channel of Leon Petru and then filter his top 5 most popular videos. Then read the video titles and view counts for the top 5 videos and add the data. I'd rather say add tabular data to a spreadsheet titled top videos. And then I'll say use the terminal to create this spreadsheet instead of using the UI. All right, let's see if that works. All right, so what I'm trying to get it to do is use like multiple different softwares. So it needs to use Firefox to go to YouTube to scrape the data. Then it needs to use terminal for writing and running code. And then it also needs to use the spreadsheet LibreOffice Calc in order to display our results or the data. So let's see if this works. Okay, so it's starting off by opening Firefox, which is good. Now it's navigated to YouTube at Leon Petru, which is exactly what we want. Next step is it should click on that videos button. Let's see if it does that. Great, it clicked on videos. Now we want it to click on the popular tag. Okay, clicked on popular. Now, if it's smart enough, it should scroll down. It might need to click into each video, or the better way would just be to scroll down. There you go, it scrolled down, great. Took the screenshot, so now I can read the view counts and it can view the titles. It's not going to have the exact views because it doesn't give us the exact view numbers, unless I think if you open the video, it might give the exact view count, but I don't think so actually. Okay, so let's see what happens. It's saying it's using tool bash, pip install pandas. Okay. So it's going to be using pandas, which is like a data library within Python. Now I'll create a Python script to generate the spreadsheet with the video data. Great. Okay, so now let's run the Python script to create the spreadsheet. Okay, seems like it's running it. Might be running it in the background. Spreadsheet created successfully. That's interesting. Okay, so let's see if it's going to open the spreadsheet. I'm just going to stop this. It looks like it's just stuck running in a loop doing nothing. So I'm going to click stop. I'm then going to tell it to please open the spreadsheet you just created. So it says, I will help you open the spreadsheet since we need to use the graphical interface, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Ah, there you go. That's very clean. Okay. So it's still running, but we can see that there's got the 5 titles and the views, and it's sorted by most popular. And it even included the upload date. That's a hallucination because I didn't ask it for the upload date. This is AI, and we all know that AI does hallucinate, so it can make mistakes. But just remember, this is the worst this is ever going to be. These models are just going to get smarter and smarter, and all you need to do is plug in the new model over there, and with the updated model, it'll be smarter and it won't hallucinate as much. You'll also notice another big issue is the latency. It takes really long to actually execute these tasks. But once again, that's also something that will be solved by improved models. There is also privacy and security risks involved with computer use. For example, there's something called prompt injecting, where some malicious websites will include hidden text on their websites that will basically tell an AI to ignore all the previous instructions, and then it'll have like malicious instructions after that the AI should follow. And sometimes the AI might actually fall for that. Even if you have like some instructions within the screenshot, it might take those instructions and start executing them, which is another limitation. Anthropic is obviously trying to mitigate these risks. Besides for security, there's also privacy concerns. So they actually recommend that you never use actual credentials to log into your systems. You don't want to give AI access to this information because there is risks, at least for now. In the future, I'm sure they'll fix these problems. Yeah, this is basically just the demo in the Docker environment, but eventually we're going to have these models running on our machines locally. The main benefit of having these AI agents run locally on your machine is that it can actually help you with your day-to-day work. The biggest difference I see between robotic process automation and agentic process automation, which is this essentially, is that with robotic process automation, it requires the developer or the human to have skills to build out a workflow. And usually there's a time investment associated to building out the automation. So you'd only ever build the automation when it's justified. That's basically only for processes that are very repetitive and rules-based. Only then will you actually go ahead and build out an automation. However, with agentic process automation, because it's as simple as typing a text prompt in order to automate a process, this allows us to automate a whole lot more types of processes, which is basically once-off tasks. So for example, let's say you needed to download an attachment from an email and upload it to your Google Drive. Let's say that's your once-off task that you need to do. It doesn't justify building an RPA workflow for that or going and creating a Zapier workflow for that, because it's just quicker to just do it manually once off, right? But whereas with this, it might be quicker just to tell the AI what to do. It then will deploy like a remote instance runtime and it'll go and do the task for you. And then maybe it'll just send you an email with a feedback, or maybe there'll be a dashboard with all your tasks. I'm not sure what they're going to come with, but I'm sure it'll be super handy. So Anthropic have also released this as an API. So here it has some example code and some instructions on how to set this up if you want to build your own applications which use agentic AI in the background to execute tasks. So if you do want to see a video on the computer use API, please let me know and I'll make a follow-up video on that. And I hope you're as excited as I am about agentic automation. Anthropic is just the biggest player to release these kind of models. There are some open source models available. I know there's one called Lavag, which is pretty cool, but it only works in the browser. What's powerful about Anthropic's release is that it can work on both the browser and on the actual desktop. So it's not limited. And that's because it's using the actual pixels to click on certain elements. It's not dependent on the selectors or the code of the UI elements. So this is a major breakthrough in terms of automation. I'm excited to make a lot more content for you guys on this topic. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there's any specific videos you'd like me to make for you guys. Excited to see what you guys recommend. Ciao for now.